Hello, this is the Redeye Stream number 84. Gun Control, the same old song and dance. All right, so I have a short monologue here at the beginning, I think. So I have kids. Obviously, my oldest son is going to be in high school soon. He's actually already in the high school building because he goes to such a small school. But when I hear stories about school shootings, I remember the first time I heard this story. It was Thurston High School. I was in high school in the same county, in a smaller town. Kip Kinkle was the one that did that, and he's still sitting in an Oregon State penitentiary. Good. Then what was the next one? Columbine. I think those kids are dead, right? If not,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Then Sandy Hook is more recent. I think that shooter's dead. This shooter, he shoots up the school, and they had known about him for over a year. I have a story out of KZI, our local news station, and it's really short. I could just sum it up right here. All it really says is that last year, a math teacher that had this gentleman or piece of shit in his class got an email saying, if you see him come into school with a backpack, let me know immediately. And it was from the principal and the police, the school police officer, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they knew then. Now, follow that up to recent. He posted a comment on a YouTube video saying, I'm going to be a professional school shooter. That post gets referred to the FBI. The FBI can't find him. They can't figure out that's his real name, nail down an IP address. They can't do shit. Okay. Why are we giving you a bunch of funding, FBI? Because obviously you're more concerned with Russia and hookers peeing on beds than you are with school shooters. I mean, as a parent, this is just really disheartening. And if you look at the past of American schools, they used to teach marksmanship in school. You used to have guns at the school. You used to have students who were hunters in these small towns with guns in their truck. Now, you're telling me if all these students were armed, they could not have put this guy down, that he would have still shot 17, 18 people plus to death and then blended into the fucking crowd and went for a burger at McDonald's? Give me a break. Gun control is not what we need here. We, honestly, I believe, need to get rid of these gun-free zones. And this is why I waited till Friday to do this show. Because I didn't want to get right into politics with the bodies still not cold. I don't know, guys. It's just ridiculous to me. And that's my best shot in a monologue I didn't write for a tragedy that I have no words for. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think that we need to have like some crazy shit like paramilitary squads roaming about high school campuses, but I definitely think that teachers definitely need to be armed and taught how to use firearms. And I definitely think that in a country, if we're going to allow people the freedom to own guns, then this is a consequence of freedom. Just like it's a consequence of freedom to go to a McDonald's, order hot coffee, and if it spills on your lap, it spills on your lap. And when guaranteeing people certain freedoms, these freedoms also have consequences. Now, that doesn't mean that these freedoms are inherently wrong. That just means that this is essentially, I don't want to say Darwinism at work, because that's a little harsh to some degree, but these are the consequences of living in a free society, rather one that's tempered by authoritarianism. You, with the freedom to own guns comes the freedom of crackpots to cause casualties to the public at large. Now, some people think that, well, I don't want to suffer the consequences of living in a free society. And so they would much rather live under a far more authoritarian, far more stringent government that wants to impose these kinds of laws. personally, I'm willing to take the risk of having these freedoms inherent to myself and to others, to own guns, to have the ability of free speech, even though, you know, there might be people out there using their speech for bad things. I personally think that that's a cost of having the freedom in the first place. And personally, I'm willing to deal with the consequences of having freedoms in the first place. Now, as I said before, honestly, I would much rather just have teachers be armed. I don't think we need to start teaching kids how to shoot in class. That's not necessarily part of our culture anymore. Those classes have kind of been naturally weeded out.
So the fact that the school had an ROTC program, you would try to end it?
Sorry, what was that?
Thank you, MC.
That the school had an ROTC program, you would try to end that?
In ROTC?
Yeah.
What is that?
Reserve Officer Training Candidate School?
Oh, no. I mean,
Yeah, actually,
honestly,
40
They had
before
they basically had a squad of people that back. Now this is obviously more common, and it's on pretty much every major university, but it used to be very common in high school as well, where as part of the different curriculums and things you could sign up for, one of the things you could sign up for was ROTC, which was a pre-military type of thing to train officers. All right, so if you went through an ROTC program and then joined the military, from there you would have a leg up or possibly be commissioned.
okay.
And in fact, this school that you're talking about, where this happened in Florida, does have an ROTC program. It's one of the few high schools that still participates in these kind of events. Now, unfortunately, the only arms that they have are airsoft rifles to teach them marksmanship. But they did have them, and there were several areas where when they grabbed several students to protect them, because in addition to that they had sheets of Kevlar that they could hide them on. Right, so
Okay.
in these kind of things. But overall, I tend to agree with your sentiment. Now, I don't think you need to quote unquote arm the teachers in and of itself. I think you should allow the teachers to be armed. If they want to arm themselves, let them. There's no reason to take away their ability to defend themselves. And what people don't understand, it's like, if you want to protect these children, then you better have people willing to protect them. You can't I mean, it's all well and good, and I understand the sentiment, and the guy is a hero. The guy who football coach who put himself in harm's way to take the bullets for the students. Right, I understand that. Right, but how much better would it have been if not only was he willing to do that, but he had a freaking pistol by his side, where he could have returned.
Yeah, no, and MC, you're absolutely right. I saw the interview with those two ROTC kids, and they are heroes as well. Like, they literally saved 60 students and put those Kevlar mats up as a shield, pretty much, in front of them. And they were in the same area as the shooter. They came out of the class at the fire alarm, and they heard 3 pops in succession. And the ROTC students knew what that was, obviously. That's gunfire. And they immediately reacted, and, they are fucking heroes, in my opinion. And I hope they end up joining the military, because we need more people like that serving.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I didn't know what an ROTC class or ROTC program was, because I didn't participate in anything like that personally. But honestly, if a school wants to have an ROTC class where they're teaching you how to shoot rifles and how to put a rifle together, or just general officer military training, I don't mind that if that's part of the culture school. That's up to the state, and that's up to the school to decide if they want to have those kinds of classes. But I mean, I meant to say that generally speaking, a lot of those kinds of classes, as far as I know, I haven't gone to although albeit I live in California. We didn't have any kinds of classes like that in California. And as far as I know, we didn't have any kinds of classes like that in Colorado either. So I'm okay with them having ROTC courses and ROTC training and all that other kind of stuff, all those other kinds of things. But I just think that having shooting classes at high school, like, you know, people like to say in the 1930s and 40s, I think that that's just generally been weeded out of culture due to, if I had to guess, it's probably due to some kind of regulation or something, and, you know, the average concerned parent and whatnot.
Well, see, here's where I'm really concerned. Well, just a second, yeah. Here's where I'm really concerned. This school was inside of town, so the cops can react fairly quickly. I brought up during my beginning little spiel about my son. We live in the middle of nowhere. Who's going to protect him? The one state trooper that patrols this highway at any given time? I believe these gun-free zones are putting our children in harm's way. And I'm literally considering homeschooling next year. This shit's getting ridiculous. And no, I don't want metal detectors at the doors. I don't want that either. But if you took away the gun-free zone and you allowed certain teachers to carry and the principal to carry, I think that would go a long way to deter these psychos. Because these crazy people go to the gun-free zone on purpose. They know that they can kill people before they get caught.
What's wrong with having a school set up a program to train certain students when they're 17, 18 years old, all right, how to handle these weapons, how to sit up there and react like this? What's wrong with having an ROTC type of program there? Now, as far as maintaining the weapons and everything, it's not really that much more of an expense than maintaining a freaking weight room, for crying out loud, even less. And furthermore, you already have a ready-made cadre of students, where the whole purpose of high school was to teach kids how to be in society, right? Give them the skills of being in society. Well, part of being in society, in my opinion, is defending yourself. You know, part of that is the responsibility that you have to not just your school, not just to your, you know, and what you say and yourself, but, you know, to everyone around you. So what's wrong with saying, hey, if you want to protect these students, if you want these people to be protected, why not have these kind of programs in every single school? It doesn't have to be mandatory. You can sit up there and have you know, the kind of military type of style training that the ROTC candidates go through, right? It doesn't have to be mandatory. There's plenty of people that will sign up for it on their own. All right, but you give them the ability then to defend these schools. And the reason this guy came to a school, let's be perfectly honest, it's exactly what you said, Mad Dodge. It's a gun-free zone. He knew he could go in there without any kind of resistance, all right, and have his way. He knew there wasn't going to be resistance there. That's why he chose that as a target. It's why Dylan Klebold and the other idiot, all right, chose to sit up there and go after their school as a target, because they knew there was no one there that was going to be able to stop them. They knew that they would have superior force because of the attitude that they've created in this. Now, when you talk about, well, it's no longer part of these schools, 40, you're right. It is no longer part of our culture. Maybe that's part of the friggin' problem.
Yeah. No, I agree. The mentality has been kind of washed away. The kind of mentality from, you know, the good old days that it's perfectly acceptable to defend yourself. And, you know, you see in a lot of these states now that they kind of removed stand your ground legislation, where, you know, if someone's breaking into your home, you can only kind of brandish your weapon and fire a few shots in the air. You know, you can't actually shoot the person who's trying to break into your house, which personally I think kind of goes against human nature. Not the average person isn't going to have the wherewithal to steady themselves and center themselves and think logically in a, you know, a situation in which you have an active shooter, that your life is actively in danger. Most people don't have that ability. So I think that's kind of illogical, to be honest. But we
I
kind of
think most
have
people
totally.
have that ability. We would not be here. All right, we're the descendants of the people that had that ability to survive the wilderness. All right, before we even had firearms. You're going to tell me that people have somehow lost that ability? What do we do? Breed it out of them?
No, we have no. I'm saying that most people, due to kind of human nature and the will to survive, most people are going to forego the laws, and they're most likely going to take the shot rather than just try and intimidate someone out of trying to like commit a crime.
Oh,
If their life is actually
I'm
in
sorry, I
danger, they're
misunderstood
most
what you were
likely.
saying. No, you're right about that.
Yeah. No, I think that, a lot of these stand your ground laws are perfectly fine just due to the fact that it does take human nature into account. I don't think it's I don't think it's proactive at all to expect people to just kind of curl up in a ball and wait for the nearest police cruiser who's 3 or 4 minutes away,
Well,
and then on top of that a SWAT team if you need one.
There's one more thing that I want to point out for all these people who are into the big gun grabbers and all this other stuff. I suggest you go online and start taking. If you're one of the people who thinks that you can get rid of guns, I suggest you go online right now and start looking at how easy it is to print a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're becoming more and more and more sophisticated, all right, with very minimal metal involved. And even now, people are going from that to producing CNC machines that you can have in your house for $1,700 to $1,800. That can basically take a hunk of metal, hunk of aluminum, right, and give you the basic frames of an M11, M911. So the idea that you're going to put this genie in a bottle, all right, and you're going to put it back again, all right, as far as the guns, especially in the United States, it's just nonsense. Hi, Rat.
Howdy. You alive?
He must have.
But I mean, really, okay, this is what really gets me, and I've even seen a couple YouTubers I won't name say that they don't care, like, that's politics as usual. But you look at CNN and Fox News, MSNBC, the BBC, all these news outlets, the bodies are not fucking cold yet, you guys. These people are not, there's still people in the hospital in surgery, and they're talking about gun control. Let's take the guns. Oh my God, it was another AR-15 when they don't even know what AR stands for. These people need to stop. Take a deep breath and let the facts come out before they start their 24, 48-hour news cycle and rail about gun control for the next month. Am I wrong?
You want society to go back to being polite?
Yeah.
I want these gun grabbers to just chill for a minute and let the families grieve. Like, I at least waited till today, and I did that on purpose. I could have did an immediate stream right when the story broke, and the YouTuber in me was like, I should do that, and then I'm like, no, that ain't fucking right. And so I waited 2 days. Have some tact. Have a little class.
This coming from a society where they were freaking showing their sons being killed in Vietnam before the military could even inform the families. And that was 35, 40 years ago? 50 years ago?
You're right. I'll never get my way, but damn it, I can bitch about it.
That ship sailed a long time ago. That's generations long past.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
going
back.
Go ahead.
Going back to the teachers having guns. There's a lot of homeless and jobless veterans who will love to take that position to guard the schools from these kind of attackers.
Yeah, I'm sure there are quite a few, ex-military veterans you could hire for sure.
I mean, before I joined the military, if they offered me a spot to carry M4 through a school to protect the students, hell, I would take that job without a heartbeat. I mean, it comes naturally.
Yeah, they could outsource it that way, and that would help a lot of veterans, have jobs and not become homeless. I could see that, but I don't necessarily think we have to do that. I believe a few armed teachers, in partnership with the school cop. Even my high school had a cop. My son's doesn't because now we live in the middle of nowhere. But when I went to high school, we had a school cop. He was a dick, but he was there 3 times a week. I mean, you can work in tandem with teachers and the asshole cop, and you can protect the school. You don't need a bunch of metal detectors and frisking at the door like in LA. I don't like that either. That's way on the other end.
Here's the issue, all right, which is, what are you going to pay them? How much are you going to pay them? What are their responsibilities going to be, right, while school's going on and nothing is happening? Okay, there's these security details that you talk about are not as easy to manage as many people think they are, because the hardest thing about any kind of security detail is maintaining efficiency for long periods of time. It's almost impossible. It really is. All right, because what happens is, as nothing happens for the first day, the second day, the third day, fourth day, you're in the 6th week, 7th week, you start getting into a routine and you start becoming complacent.
Mm-hmm.
One of the advantages of allowing teachers, all right, not having teachers, but allowing teachers to carry weapons, is that the uncertainty of what you're walking into then remains. If you have an armed guard, even if it's just 1 or 2 armed guards, at that point, if you're determined, okay, I think it would act as a deterrent to a point. But if you're determined, what you're going to do is you're going to watch the routine, and you're going to examine when the routine allows you to slip in to create the havoc that you're looking to do.
Yeah.
So
can I just, from a European standpoint, I don't want to sort of step on any toes or anything. Like, you guys have your culture and your laws, and we have ours, but I think the whole, and this might just be me, I just think the whole idea of teachers carrying is such an absurd idea. And it's interesting that it gets so far out of hand in the United States, and I don't know. I feel sorry for you guys for even having to have that discussion, sort of.
Well, I want to ask a question then, Rap. I didn't know how to exactly phrase that. My apologies. But I don't believe it's absurd, because we are a concealed carry country. We're an open carry state here in Oregon, at least. So everybody can carry. So why are you limiting their constitutional rights at the workplace, is what we're initially talking about. And if you talk about the rise in mass shootings at schools, I say that there's a good reason for these teachers to be allowed to carry. I was also in favor of pilot being allowed to carry when he was at work, in case somebody tried to hijack the plane. And that's a more enclosed area, an even more dangerous situation. And I'm still in favor of that. So I just wanted to push back a little bit and find out why you think it's so absurd.
Maybe it's absurd to me because, I come from a very peaceful country, and we don't like, if someone kills one person, it makes the national news in Norway, and it basically makes the national news for like weeks. And we basically don't have that situation, so it just seems so outworldish to me. I guess.
So did you guys Did you guys phase out the last name Skull Splitter and stuff then? You got more civilized over there? A little Viking joke. I'm sorry. I had to.
It's fine. But yeah, and you know, as a European, I'm not here to sort of dictate how American gun law should be. It's sort of not my place to say. I can only speak from sort of a Northern European standpoint, and I am aware that we are two vastly different cultures, or not even two, or more than two vastly different cultures when it comes to this. So,
well, it's not just that. That's something you better be prepared for.
yeah.
I mean, just across the border, you're starting to see these kinds of issues become more and more common, aren't you? All right.
Yeah, and you know, I understand both the sides that want more gun control, and I understand the side that is saying that no, that's not the answer.
The biggest difference between the United States and many of the other European nations, right, is many of the other European nations have never had to deal with the fact that you're truly dealing with multicultural entities within your own population centers and significant minorities. And I don't mean that from an African American perspective or a Native American perspective. It's more than just that. Even we have even within the states themselves, there's very regional differences.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Like, and you know, you can just to take it to state level. You like Vermont is significantly different than Texas, for example. So.
Yes.
And that's what I mean by it's not just two different cultures when I'm talking about United States and Norway. It's like 50 different cultures. So I don't know.
And even within the states, there's subcultures even within the states.
Yeah,
there's huge differences. For example, we'll just use Texas since you brought it up. There's a huge differences in Dallas versus Austin, for example, culturally. Even between Fort Worth and Dallas, there are differences that you can see.
Well, no, and MC, I think an even starker contrast would be Portland, Oregon, compared to Bend, Oregon. Those are vastly different demographics, for one, politics, for another. I mean, in Portland, they're all afraid of guns. Oh my God, you have a gun? How dare you? In Bend, they're like, you don't have a gun? What the fuck's wrong with you? It's just a totally different culture within the same state. And I believe that's part of the reason why Cascadia should be a thing. But I digress.
Freedom for Cascadia. But maybe that's, rural state. You also have the whole point between like a rural and urban state. Like maybe the urban areas should be a little bit stricter, and rural areas could be a little bit more liberal with it. And now I'm talking liberal as in not the political ideology, but like it would be easier to be allowed to carry a gun in a rural area compared to a urban. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, I personally think it should be the other way around. you have more to worry about in an urban environment from personal. It comes down to an attitude toward personal responsibility and personal safety, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do agree with my.
But Rat.
Yeah.
Oh, you agree with me? Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rarely were those words spoken. No, I agree with you in the sense that have some, respect for the people that died and their families and the wounded people. Like, try to sort of not make it all political, like within the first hour. And I think that's something both sides can really learn to be better at.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that ship sailed generations ago, like I said.
Yeah, as like retarded as it sounds, I don't know if you guys have watched. I think it's Anchorman 2. Um, but I think that movie expertly portrayed, excuse me, the way that media has gone, especially like the last 10 or so years. You know, in the movie Anchorman 2, it's kind of shows how sensationalized media has become to a certain extent. You know, people used to tune in to see, you know, a talk between these you know, Gorbachev and Reagan, or, you know, whoever might be talking or speaking at a national assembly or a what have you. But then news totally switched to this sensationalized version where,
Don't spoil the movie for me. I haven't seen it yet.
oh, you know, I'm not spoiling anything, don't worry. But, you know, news totally transitions to, you know, well, all these shootings happened. This was a robbery. This terrible thing happened. This awful thing happened. News has kind of devolved into, I don't want to say shock humor, but shock news to a degree. It's to get your views. It's to reel you in. It's to come up with the most shocking, most abhorrent thing, and to either spin it a certain direction or to leave out certain bits of information to make it seem more fantastical than it actually is.
Do you think
Reaction news.
Cordy, do you think the news, that sort of news culture, might actually be making things worse?
Oh, it does make
it
things
is.
worse.
Oh, sorry, go on, Moondog.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, it absolutely does make things worse. And to be honest, this shooting was actually a perfect example. Last night when I was doing man streaming, we were kind of I was kind of looking around Twitter, and I was looking around articles for information about the shooter. And one of the things I saw on Twitter was a shooter that, a tweet from someone who claimed that the shooter was actually part of an Antifa group. And there was a picture that was doctored showing the shooter, Nicholas Cruz, if I remember his name correctly, showing Nicholas Cruz wearing a, it wasn't an actual, like, serious communist t-shirt, but it was a t-shirt kind of playing on the term Communist Party. It had Lenin and Stalin, and Marx had a lampshade on his head, and they were all kind of throwing a party on this shirt, right? So kind of a funny shirt. I'd like to, I kind of want to know where they got that shirt. But
I saw some more like tabloid medias being like that they had a headline being something like that he trained with white supremacists, and that he wore a MAGA hat.
Well, no, not to cut you off, Rat, but let's touch upon that. So the AP ran with the story that he trained with what they call the Florida, what is it, 40?
Republic of Florida, ROF.
The Republic of Florida, which is a white nationalist paramilitary militia. Okay, I'm okay with militias. If you want to be a white nationalist, you know, you want to be an idiot and go fuck your sister, have at it. Whatever. You can join Richard Spencer. I don't give a fuck. I really don't. Did you see this fucking guy? Have you seen this fucking guy that they talked to and they use that as a credible guy? Oh yeah, he practiced with us. Okay. Fuck you, first off, AP. You're fucking idiots. Second, the ADL could fucking suck a dick too. An uncircumcised one also. Fucking assholes. Alright. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sick of this shit. They fucking go around. They go around to get false news stories and they spread it like the fucking pox. Because God forbid, you know, Trump is in office, everybody's a white supremacist. Every shooter is a white supremacist, right, MC? All of them. Every motherfucking one. This shit is fucking dumb.
The thing is that the ADL, all right, and the press in general, all right, are looking to confirm their own biases, and as long as they can find a way to do that, they will do so. Now, in this case,
yeah, okay, but MC, in this case, they found one idiot who the Southern Poverty Law Center, who I hate as well, for a plethora of reasons. Do I hate the SPLC? But even they said that the Republic of Florida is a laughingstock, even amongst other fucking white nationalist groups. That the leader literally wrote the SPLC. It was like, hey, why am I not on your list? We're a hate group. Who does that? What the David fucking Duke wouldn't do that. And this is the guy you say that he's tied to? Fuck me.
Well,
Fuck me.
okay, I hate to say this, but if you look at it from a rational standpoint, okay, what advantages does he gain by doing this? Up until this point, I had never heard of the Republic of Florida.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that organization even existed.
All PR is good PR in the long run. But
yeah, before I killed your train of thought, it was 4chan though that set this all up. 4chan.
Yeah. It was 4chan and leaks from someone's a Discord associated with the Republic of Florida. And apparently, and I think the truth is somewhat in between what the ROP and the AP are actually saying here.
Oh, wait, so did he train with white national? I don't
know. Officially, he did not. Officially, Nicholas Cruz has no association with the ROP. The police were monitoring and conducting surveillance on the ROP, and they were keeping tabs on the membership of the Republic of Florida as well. And Nicholas Cruz officially never joined the ROP, yet it is claimed by the leader that he did go on exercises and he was hanging out with them at the time.
So is this sort of like when ISIS claims the responsibility for any terror attack?
Precisely.
But the idea that this guy trained with them, there's no evidence of that. Okay, you only have the word of this lunatic.
Yeah,
right.
He's an attention seeker.
Right, he's an attention seeker, but he's also getting attention for his group. So from that perspective, this is a win-win for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to put it to people real succinctly, so people understand this. There are bad people in the world. There are there are true Nazis in the world. All right. And if you're one of them and you're trying to attract more like-minded fellows so that you can do something nefarious, this is the perfect time and the perfect way to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I want to point out something, and it really is just sort of a companion thing to what MC just said, and sort of a extension of what Mad Dodge said, that when people say that, hey, there are, this shooter was a Nazi or this shooter was a Nazi, I'm like, well, in some of those cases it's correct, but I think the media should learn to sort of hold off until they actually have confirmation what the ideas, ideologies, and whatnot of terror attackers were. I remember back in 2011 when Norway was attacked, and a lot of Muslims in Oslo were basically beaten up, as far as I remember, just right after the bombs had went off in Oslo. And it's something about at least wait until you know what you're up against.
Yeah.
Well, and isn't that epic? Oh, I was just gonna say real quick, and then MC, you go ahead. Isn't that epidemic of the 24-hour news cycle that we're stuck in, where they literally have 3 stories and they just cycle them through, and they like grab and reach for any fucking info that they can get above any other news source?
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Well, to an extent, I think you're correct, but I think it's magnified by the fact that when people talk about, for example, the FBI has been politicized. Okay. What about the press? Has anybody even thought about the fact that the press has become politicized? That was where the first politicization and where a lot of this crap stems from, is how politicized the press has become. When we talk about the guy
wait a minute,
out,
I have to stop you there, though. I have to stop you there for one reason. The press has always been biased. They've always had politics. That's the way they started. And now you can
Politics is one
continue.
thing.
I just had to point that out.
Politicization, taking everything from a political standpoint, all right, is something that's gotten worse over time. All right, I'm not saying that there hasn't been problems with the press or that the press has never had an agenda. I've never thought about that. Thought that was incorrect. What I'm trying to point out is the press has become more and more politicized in how it's reacting. It's not reacting like a news organization trying to get facts and let the news out as they see it. They're acting themselves as if they're part of the political organization. Like I was trying to say, the fact that they didn't wait, an hour before they were trying to find people to politicians, especially the kind of politicians, to get their viewpoint that they want out. They want to spread this kind of stuff. They are going out of their way to spread this kind of stuff. They're not taking a wait. Rat's right. They're not taking a wait and see approach before they start gathering facts and let things going. No, they're already the press. The press, mind you, is already seeking to politicize this event. Even politicians, you can expect, will politicize everything. They're dirtbags. Most politicians, for the most part, should be taken out and horsewhipped, as far as I'm concerned. All right, but when you start talking about the press, you might, if you're going to start horsewhipping people, there's a hell of a lot of freaking news announcers that show up on the daily news, all right, that I would like to see horsewhipped right along with them, and then drag their freaking editors who are behind the scenes out to get them too.
Yeah, this is why the mainstream media has to die.
And that is not a physical threat of violence.
No, it is not. But they are fading out, and they're being replaced by us.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it takes far too long a time for sort of the old guard media to die off. But I'm just glad that you can basically see that millennials and Gen Zers are basically not having any of it when it comes to the CNNs of the world.
And I would just like to point out, MC, as long as Anderson Cooper is up at the front of the line getting horsewhipped, I'm down for that. Fuck the nap at that point. I'm with you.
No, you know what? In my opinion, it should be Rachel Maddow.
Ooh, she's a good point.
There's a lot of candidates.
and that comes from a very liberal guy, people. I can't fucking stand that.
There's a slew of candidates for this. It really is. But no, it's unfortunate that these kind of things happen. It's unfortunate but the reality is the way things are going right now, especially when
I think.
All right, you end up. Another thing that I have a problem with, if you really want a solution, is everyone wants to talk about gun control or not gun control, but you know that isn't a solution. So let's talk about solutions. One of them was suggested, let's put some people in the schools to defend them. Maybe not teachers like Moondog was saying, but some kind of security force. Okay, at least that person, at least that's a discussion about a solution. Whether I agree with it or not, or I think it's going to be effective or not, well, it can be. I mean, it's just not as easy as people think it is, in my opinion. But at least they're truly looking for solutions. When you're just trying to grab guns, you're not really looking for a solution. But another solution, another thing that would change the dynamics is these schools, these high schools, are far, far, far too large. You have too many students being packed into these areas.
Oh yeah.
All right. One of the things that could have helped of this situation a whole heck of a lot would have been if you had smaller school systems. For one reason, when you have a smaller school and fewer students, all right, the attention that can be given to a student, all right, by the teachers is then increased. All right. We don't have a problem where we don't have enough teachers. We have a problem where teachers are looked upon as basically commodities per se. because the schools are so large. There's no sense of community to them. All right, they're just basic dumping grounds. All right, in a lot of cases. Now, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist or anything else. But I honestly believe that if the school had been a smaller community or a smaller school, the problems that this guy had would have been obviously that much more easy to identify, and perhaps he could have gotten help earlier on. It may not have changed things, all right, but I can tell you one thing: they'd have been far more aware when he came on that campus than when there's a school that's so large you don't even know what everyone looks like.
I have to say, it seems like we agree on the issue of centralization of, in general.
Yeah. People identifying warning signs, that's I have a feeling that's something we'll touch on later maybe, but no, I actually totally agree. I mean, even in medium-sized towns, you have literally 1,000 to 2,000 students packed into a single school, for instance.
Completely insane to me. Like, is this like a high school or is it like a university?
That's a high school.
Yeah,
So
my high school.
The high school I went to had like, I don't know, 150 students or something. Maybe a bit more. Let's say 300 for good measure. But and I think that's more than enough.
Yeah. Well, the high school I went to, we didn't even we had way more than 100 and some odd students. I mean, it was a charter school that I went to, and we had 300 or 400 students that went to this tiny charter school. That's not accounting for the 2 major high schools that were right next to us, each carrying around 2,000 to 3,000 students, and that's not accounting for the literally 3 to 4 other charter high schools that were in the same city. So, I mean, that's thousands of people you're talking about.
Well, to put it in perspective of the school my kids go to, it is a charter school, and we live in a rural area. So literally, they don't play 11-man football. They play 8-man football. That's how small the school is. They can't field an 11-man football team.
That's a good thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So my son has to play football since he already started playing. Now, if he leaves, they can't even field an 8-man team. So, seriously, that's how small the school I'm talking about.
I just realized you probably don't mean soccer. And
I definitely don't mean soccer. I fucking hate soccer.
Yeah, because that's called football to the rest of the world.
No.
Blame the British. They're the ones that told us it was called soccer.
Like in Norway, we call your sport American football, and then we call ours football.
I thought it was like with a football or some shit like that. You say it funny.
That's the Germans, and they say it very angrily as they're going through. They say it very angrily as they going through the northern parts of France.
If you were going to say it in Norwegian, it would be football. But
All right. So let's pivot a little. Yeah, let's pivot a little bit. I don't believe the person who committed these crimes was on Zoloft or Prozac or any of these drugs. At least that hasn't came out yet that I've seen.
What the fuck? I didn't even hear about that shit.
No, I don't think he was. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he was. But other school shooters have been. And that's where I want to talk about mental health versus gun control. I don't believe you need to remove all the guns. I think we need to take a deep, hard look at the mental health issues in this country. What say you guys?
You definitely do.
Yeah, that's a pretty good topic. That's actually something me and my girlfriend were talking about this morning. And we eventually got to the topic, it's probably a good thing that mental health or people with mental health issues shouldn't be allowed to own guns, but at the same time, who determines what is a severe case of mental health. I mean, we were talking about people with high functioning autism owning guns, people with either mild or not so severe cases of PTSD. Can they own guns? There's a wide variety of people with mental disorders and mental disabilities that, some are not so severe and some are severe. So should there be some kind of test in place? Should there be some form of ownership for people who, or sorry, some kind of a license. Sorry, some kind of license for people who have some kind of disability. I don't know. Hi.
Well, the first thing you have to do is you're going to have to get people to understand that just because they feel sad doesn't mean they have depression. Just because, I'm worried, you're worried about something, doesn't mean you need to sit up there and go see a psychiatrist. Right? One of the problems that I see when you talk about mental health is the fact that there are so many people in quote unquote therapy that are in therapy because they don't want to act like adults. They don't want to handle their job. I'm not saying that these things don't exist. I'm just saying that if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of people cover up all these anxieties, when you finally get to the guy who really is needing help, the guy who really does have a mental health problem, right? Do you get to them, or were you too busy dealing with people that should have been, look, dude, grow a pair, and look, Mary, stop your crying and go frickin' find a boyfriend,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with even the people that are pro gun control should definitely be for sort of making your healthcare system for mental illness and whatnot better, because I think that you guys need to focus more on that regardless.
Okay, yeah.
The problem with it is it's got to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
I want to bring up one thing that's true to at least my life so far. When it comes to the mental health issue, I've never had any issues, but one of my best friends killed himself. And a few days before he killed himself, he turned himself in for a mental health watch or whatever. And they released him within 24 hours. They didn't even hold him to 48 that you're supposed to. He had told them he was suicidal. He had told them that he owned an SKS and he planned to kill himself. They released him. He proceeded to drive out into the middle of nowhere and blow his head off. Is that their fault? Maybe. They didn't follow procedure. But that being said,
that's partly their fault, at least.
Well, and I'm not trying to cover
he initially pulled the trigger. It's his fault, ultimately.
Yeah, definitely. But the deal is that maybe he hadn't done it if he had actually received help.
Yeah.
And maybe they would have actually given him help if it wasn't for, they weren't always inundated with a bunch of people who don't really need help, using them as a crutch and clogging up the system to the point where people looked upon it with a jaundiced eye to say, he's just one of those, and they let him go.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely.
Hey, good to see y'all.
Hey, what's up, Ogre? No, but I want to elaborate on that a little bit. So that's one case where they messed up. But also, our vets are returning home, some of them with PTSD. They are allowed to carry rifles in combat to protect our country. Should they come home and because they have PTSD, be refused to own any firearms? I say no to that. So I really don't know. I'm torn here. And
That's
go
what
ahead,
I worry
Ogre.
the most about right there, Matt Dodge, because they keep saying, well, we need no more, we need no more. And then I heard some people that I kind of respect say that the background checks don't do nothing.
No, I only see like a little bit. No, you're good.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Just like lean up against.
Oh, your microphone's on.
Or do you need to?
No, his microphone's on. I'm just going to keep talking in case that's personal.
Oh,
Hey,
sorry.
Jordy.
Hello.
No, it's all right. I couldn't
Sorry.
really hear you because I started talking when I didn't know if you were beating your old lady or something.
Yeah, savagely.
Oh, are we doing webcam party now? Hey, yo.
I usually don't turn it on because I don't want to be the only one with a camera on.
Yeah.
No, I have to do it because I'm a narcissist and I'm having my cup of coffee. What's up, MC, everybody? But I was thinking, I used to read a lot when I was young, man. I love to read about the Old West and about the frontier lands, and can't tell you how many times I read what were taken from clippings in newspapers where the children, right? There was someone that had a problem with the teacher, someone that had a problem with the school board, someone that had a problem. And they went to the school to cause trouble, and the children had their long guns and the children, and so when the idea is put forward that some of the teachers could be, trained, and then I hear all kinds of good arguments in that, well, they don't know what they do in the heat of the moment. No one knows what they do in the heat of the moment, but if the ones that wanted to do it did it, there would be some that would react well in the heat of the moment. Because you can use the same argument against police, or in the MCJK's case, you could use an argument against soldiers. What will they do in the heat of the moment? You never know till the moment gets there. But anyway, it's better to have it. And I just think that the idea of, oh, this is a terrible thing. Look, if this kind of kid didn't have a machine gun, he's the kind that the kids of old were shooting at. You dig it? And he's the kind that would use homemade dynamite, pipe bombs, fucking pressure cooker, you name it. He would have used it to wreak havoc because he wanted attention. Let's not give it much attention. Let's remember one thing, folks, and then I'll shut up for a minute here because I've been loving this. That's why I popped in. This is a great conversation, y'all. How often does this happen, folks? I mean, I know they publicize it every time, but think about all the schools across this great, huge land of 370 million people or more. How often does this happen?
Technically, since the beginning of the year, we've had about 20 something.
Well, I'd like to see exactly what you mean by 20, because some of the what they call school shootings are not
mass shootings.
Are not well, but some of these technical, what they call mass school shootings are sometimes it's only one or two people. Sometimes it's not even at a school. I mean, I don't think in this year we've had 20 what I would consider to be shootings as what we just had, school shootings. But anyway, it doesn't happen that often in our great wide country. That's my answer to that. And so I don't know what the problem is, man.
We have had two, all right, that have happened this year, all right. That's a
what's that, MC?
We have had two now. All right,
that sounds more like it, because I just seen somebody debunk the 20 thing. And I think that's what they come to the conclusion.
I would still say that 2 school shootings within 2 months is actually quite a lot.
Well, it's fucking horrific, but what can you anyway? Like I said, I talked a lot, so I just wanted to throw all that out there, what I did, because the idea that you can't listen, the only thing that'll stop when those kids were cowering and he was mowing down 17 kids, and right now it may sound like a bad idea to you in your head, or it may have before, I don't know, but if 3 or 4. If MCJK would have been there and he was an adjunct teacher, I can just tell you what would happen if he had a Glock 17 under his arm, or 6 Sauer 45 in his, in his sneaker. He would have called me, walked out the hallway, and pop, and it would have been over. And this is why the idea that it couldn't happen and that there's no teachers that are qualified. I mean, come on, man. Do that if you want to do something, but don't take my wife's right to defend herself away. She's only 120 pounds soaking wet. I want her to be able to have her firearm.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think we should arm teachers, or at least give them the option, as MC said. I don't think it should be like the military. Oh, what's that? Do you want to be a teacher? Well, here's your fully automatic weapon, and you'll receive the ability to call in warthogs and whatnot. But they're they're
the airstrike.
Be careful. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, be careful. MC's going to be a teacher, so he can drone strike kids.
but I mean,
like I said, from a Norwegian standpoint, arming the teacher sounds 100% absurd to me. And I know it's because I come from where I come from. We don't have the same numbers as you. Like, we don't have the same number of people, and we don't have the same number of gun deaths as you do.
Yeah.
But
there have been.
I just think it's. I keep thinking about the risks. So okay, what you have armed teachers. What if one particularly violent the student gets a hold of that gun at some point? Or what if the teacher gets screwing at some point?
Hey, what if you go to work the next time and jump in a vehicle and get on a motorway and drive to work? Because that's super dangerous. And you see what I mean? All these what ifs when you try to, place in things that could happen. Well, if you were going to look at life that way, you definitely you would never do a lot of things that you do on a day-to-day basis, sir. That's my answer to that.
Well, my answer to it is very simple. What's to prevent them from doing it right now?
Thank you.
Nothing. So, so nothing would change.
Well, I mean, these things have happened in the past. Back in like the 30s, 40s, and 50s. There are stories and testimonies about this happening before. During the 30s, 40s, and 50s, if there ever was a school shooting, then the football team goes out to their dad's trucks and they take out the rifle and they all sit around outside school, and that's happened before. It's been documented. The teachers have guns. The teachers go around the halls, make sure the classroom's clear. That has happened before in American society, where there have been school shootings and everyone has guns. So it's not necessarily a question of what if. It's let's look to the past and let's see what has happened previously.
Thank you, 40. Thank you.
Yeah, but there weren't 17 bodies. There weren't 30 to 40 people wounded.
No, a matter of fact, if you're talking about that meme, my wife posted in Discord 40 last night. The school shooter never even showed up at that event. That was a picture of the students just chilling outside the front door waiting on the shooter. And they never showed. Why? Because the students were chilling out front waiting on them with a rifle. I mean,
where was
if
that?
you want to deter gun... Oh, in my Discord, my wife posted it. It was just a meme, but I think it really did happen. But if you want to deter these people from shooting up schools, have the people armed at the school. Nobody wants to
That
get
also
shot.
tells you how much
even
time has
these psychos.
changed since from then to now.
Oh yeah, 19. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Throughout this whole conversation, I'm just very happy I live in a very small country where this doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I'm just praising praising Odin at this point.
Where do you live? Sweden? You live in Sweden?
He lives in Norway.
Oh, Norway. I don't know much about Reykjavik. Isn't that Norway? I don't know much about Norway.
Reykjavik is Iceland.
Oslo.
Oslo. I meant Oslo. Thank you. I misspoke. It sounds very similar. Do Reykjavik and Oslo? No.
Yeah, very.
But I don't know much about Norway. Because I just when you said thank Odin and know you're from there, because I know there is. Are you all allowing Muslims to just come into your land and rape your women as they are over there in Sweden?
Norway is very much stricter than Sweden. Like we obviously, like every European country and every Western country, I'm gonna think we do take some refugees, but we don't take as many that we can't integrate them into our society properly.
Smart, dude. That's because that I don't hear about Norway either, so I'm gonna take your word on that and believe you.
Yeah, there are obviously like
they have a lot more ways to take care of them. There's a lot of fjords there that are really deep. You never find somebody if they really get out. Well,
yeah, but MC, you can't imagine the Swedes and what they're allowing to have. Oh God,
they don't have the fjords, man. That's the problem.
They don't have the
well
dumping grounds. Don't have the dumping grounds. Is this rat resistance that I'm seeing too with the red beard? The red.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good to see you, sir. I've seen you around. It's just good to finally see your face.
Thanks. No, so what I'm saying, just I need everyone to understand that what I'm saying is coming from a position, whereas to me, seeing as we don't have as many guns, we don't have as many people, and thus we don't have as many gun deaths. Just arming everyone at a school seems like a very foreign concept to my sort of reality.
Well, not everyone too. Let's keep in mind that I would definitely not say everyone.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that teachers that would volunteer, only teachers that would volunteer, and then they would have to pass, some kind of rigorous, they'd have to get their concealed carry and then pass a rigorous test and stay current in that. And I mean a rigorous test. I hate to keep using an example, MC, but you're the only one here with this kind of authority and you're here inconvenient. But so I mean a rigorous test is someone like MCJK, a 20-year veteran of the armed forces, is overseeing, watching them be proficient, choose a target when they have random targets available in a straight up sniper course. You know what I mean? And if they can do that and want to be part of it, yes, they can. Some teachers would want to do that too, I'm sure. But that's what I mean now. You know, I hate to, but keep that in mind. And I can see where it's weird to you, because I think about the British are telling me how strange it was the first time, which was only about a year ago, if that he's seen a armed police officer in his town, and how I don't want to use the word traumatized, because he didn't use that word, but that's what he was describing was mental trauma over that. So I understand you can't see it, but dude,
yeah.
Sometimes kids go crazy and take a gun to school. We got to think of something radical, and it's not going to be a mass sweep up of everyone's guns. That's not going to work here.
Ogre, the only thing I disagree with you.
It's like that here too. Like we only recently got armed police in the streets in Norway. Our police hasn't been like I think they got armed like right after the terror attacks in 2011. And then they have been on and off with sort of like armed for months, on and off since then.
Moondog, you sounded American. You disagreed with me.
Yes, the only thing I disagree with you is the time and money it will take to train these teachers to be proficiencies with these weapons.
What if it had to come from the because that could be solved if people were willing to negotiate, because that's a good argument. What if the money had to come from a portion from them to show their commitment to this kind of responsibility, and a portion from the community in general? In other words, above and beyond property tax here in the United States is a common way that they gather money for schools, millage they call it. And so above and beyond the millage, people could then say, yes, we would like this to happen. We will pay for it. Because that's a good point. So what if it was subsidized in a creative way, such as one of the two I just named? Is it only the funding that bothers you about it?
I would say if the teachers were veterans themselves, then they could probably take a refresher course that would cost a lot less than taking a brand new teacher, giving them a .45 caliber, and train on it. Also, there's a lot of homeless veterans who will love to take the job for a lot less money than it would take to train.
That's one of the best things I've heard in the last couple of days. I can't remember the first person I heard say that. I thought it was Matt Dodge, but that's one of the best things I've heard right there.
Well, my thing is, a lot of people already have the training. They already have their concealed weapons permit. And if they're a teacher as well, why not let them carry concealed?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Oh, but it's like Moondog said, if you have like 3 or 4 in a large school the size, because what did they say? It was thousands of kids go to school in South Florida in Broward County. If you have 4 in this case, 5 tops, coordinating retired, Iraq veterans. Oh man, come on. It would be very difficult for something like this to ever happen, where it would ever escalate if they even got on the grounds. And it wouldn't have to be a police state kind of situation. It would just be guys on point, taking care of business, making sure they keep an eye out, and then if something ever did crack off, they were right there to put a cap on it.
Yeah, but the problem is people's viewpoints. If people see somebody walking around with a rifle, oh, it's a police state. It's a police state. I mean,
it doesn't have to be a rifle; it could be a pistol.
Well, I remember my first studio assignment when I landed in Munich, Germany, and the shock that I felt walking through the airport when you walk through, and they had, because the RAF was a problem at that point, the Red Army Brigade. These guys were standing there with submachine guns. They're just part of the police force. Right, and you're walking through, and it's like, whoa, what have I walked into? Right, so it does create a different type of an impression. Now, whether or not that's significant and how it'll affect kids, to be honest, I don't know the answer to that. But at the same time, if you really want a solution, we know that gun control is not going to work, and at least that is a solution. Going toward a solution.
Well, MC, so like if it's concealed, the kids aren't going to see it. So even if it's Nancy, I almost said nasty Pelosi. Sorry, Nancy Pelosi's children, they wouldn't see the guns, so they're not going to have PTSD. You know what I mean? Unlike my kids, who would be like, "Oh, that's a cool gun, teacher."
I'm not really worried about that because she's probably wondering if her kid's thinking that he wants to be a policeman now, or a green goblin, or maybe a orange pumpkin.
But I don't think a gun on a school campus is necessarily going to shatter our poor children's minds. You know what I mean? I don't see that as happening. Now,
Keep
if
the gun
suddenly,
hidden.
well, yeah, or why keep it hidden though? Okay, Oregon is an open carry state. Why can't our teachers openly carry at school? Nobody would be fucking with them. I can guarantee that. No one's going to shoot up the school if, as they're walking in, everybody in the office has a pistol on their hip. Come on now. Would that not solve a lot of these problems?
Not only this location, it also depends on the situation of where you actually, it does depend on the situation of where the location where you live. Some locations you might have, shit. I forget these damn languages. I'm fucking drunk as hell, so I'll be quiet.
You're doing good, Moon Dog. You should have continued.
I truly forgot what I was about to say.
What?
It's okay. I'm about to join you.
No. I don't know. I don't really have much to say about this thing. Like I said earlier, this is sort of you guys, like you Americans fight. I am basically just giving the sort of Norwegian perspective on what you guys are talking about, and it's. I can remember when I went to the United States and I landed on the O'Hare airport in Chicago.
Yes.
And it baffled me how the security guards in the airport were heavier armed than Norwegian police. So.
I also can share your experience, cause when I went to China, the security was so relaxed compared to America.
Yeah. But then again, nobody bombs a Norwegian airport. It's like, dude.
There was a time period when we didn't even have, and it wasn't that long ago, where we didn't even have people in the airports.
Before 9/11, 2001, you really could walk with your significant other or grandparents to the terminal that the plane's leaving in.
I'm not gonna go too far into the 9/11 stuff. I think MC and I have been there already.
This is before and after. So before, you can actually walk with your parent or grandmother to the terminal that they're going to, wait there until the plane leaves. Now you say goodbye as soon as at the ticket counter.
Shit, you used to be able to take on like knives and stuff, like box cutters. You used to be able to take those on a fucking airplane. Not anymore. A certain group of people ruin that.
You used to don't have to take off your shoes at the airport,
You can blame Muslims for that.
Those fancy underwear bombs.
Well, wait a minute. People want to blame Muslims for that and everything. The reality is that we as Americans had gotten complacent.
Well, actually, the problem is we traded our liberty for security, and we deserve neither. That's our fucking problem.
Well, to an extent, but as a populace, we'd gotten complacent. These guys that did the 9/11, that committed the 9/11, did it with what Gordy said was box cutters, right? Now, the reality is that a bunch of people with box cutters, when you've got laptops and everything else, wouldn't have made it on a plane today. If somebody, if Jihadi John jumps up with two of his buddies and says, "We're taking over the play," he's going to get his ass beat because people aren't going to freaking tolerate it. The problem is that at the time we did tolerate it. We were willing to tolerate it. We were because we had gotten complacent about how dangerous the world actually was. Even the pilots had rules. The FAA had rules that if there's an attempt to take over the cockpit, they were supposed to depressurize the plane and land at the nearest airport. If any of those pilots would have followed that FAA rule, all right, how many people would have been saved? Yet none of them did it. Why? Because we in America had gotten complacent. It's somebody else's responsibility to take care of these guys. I'm allowing somebody else to be in charge of my security. We forgot it's our responsibility first.
I have no comment.
Okay, well, no, to get back to the mental health issue, okay, we take away all the guns, all right? If you're a psycho, you don't get a gun. You ever jaywalk, you don't get a fucking gun. Only people that have guns are the military and the police, all right? Fine. Democrats have their way. There's no civil war for some reason. I doubt that would ever happen. There would be a civil war. At least I would be dead. You're not taking my gun. But let's say we do that. Then we won't have school shootings. We'll have school stabbings. They'll go in there with machetes and shit. A psycho person does what a psycho person does. You can't really stop them. You can't. Well, I mean, in this case, the FBI could have stopped him, or at least, I don't know, showed up at his doorstep. He made a threat over a year ago to the school. The school didn't even want him to carry a backpack on the campus. Now, this is a high school student going to high school. And they literally sent out an email saying, if he has a backpack, let us know. That's weird. Don't all the fucking students have backpacks? They knew something here, guys. This isn't a gun control issue. This is an information, the right hand knowing what the left hand is doing issue. And the FBI being so preoccupied with Russian informants and pissing on beds by hookers that they won't even investigate a credible threat. What else are they here for if not to investigate credible threats on us domestically? That's what the FBI is for, is it not?
Well, the FBI had no business being. I shouldn't say they had no business. Since it was reported to them, they had a responsibility of letting the local authorities know and tracking it down. The fact is, they didn't do that. They didn't want to waste the time. They didn't want to waste the resources to do it.
And hookers pissing on beds is very important because that is bodily fluids laying on a bed that you can lay in, which is very unsanitary.
Yeah, but it's important because Obama's and stuff.
Well, urine is actually sterile. You do know that, right?
Only for a little while. Let's be honest about that, at least.
That's very true.
Again, this is not really my fight. I can give you guys some Kippy quotes from Norway.
Well, do you guys not have stabbings in Norway? I mean, in Great Britain, somebody went on a stabbing rampage. They have tight gun control. I don't think gun control is the issue here.
We rarely do. I don't know. We just don't desire to kill each other that much, I think.
I think you just push people that you don't like in those Fords and they never come back.
But,
I feel really sad for Norway all of a sudden. Like, your great Viking heritage has been squandered. I mean, what happened to the Skull Splitter?
No, we still like killing other people. But I don't know.
Hence the ethno state, right?
Yeah. But maybe it's because we are such a small population, and you know, we talked a little bit about this. I don't know if it was the last time or if it was with when I was talking with 40 last time, but we talked a little bit about how a bigger population sort of makes people get a different mentality after a while, and that's why it's more healthy for humans to live in more rural areas where you're not basically living on top of each other. So yeah, I think that might have something to do with why Norway is actually doing quite okay.
Living in rural truly depends on where you live. Because where I was living from, rural, I hated it. It's literally, if you hear banjos, you're running away.
Yeah,
Deliverance was true.
Obviously, personal preferences might obviously be a thing there, but I think like collectively, humans are more healthy when they don't live 1 million people within 1 square mile, sort of.
Honestly, that truly depends on the person's perspective. Because, like I said, I live in where Deliverance is almost a true story. I hated it. First time in the military, I lived in D.C. I truly loved it. Got out, went back to home.
I feel sorry.
I hated it.
Loving DC.
I truly loved DC.
Ugh.
Got back home. I hated it. Now I'm back in the military for a second time. And I'm truly living it because I'm near a city.
Again, that's a personal preference, but what I'm talking about is more based on like I said, collective mental health is. I think that's working better with a more spread out societies. I think humanity works better when they are not on top of each other.
Oh, I do agree with that. Also, with the rural where I live, it's like 5 guns per person per capita. And you rarely see any kind of murders on the news. You're always seeing murders from like places from Chicago, Houston, San Francisco.
And that's the interesting thing, because the second you get into a sort of bigger and bigger society, then people want to a larger extent to kill each other. And, it's sad, but that's the reality we're in. So,
yeah, no, that is the reality. But once again, at the broader gun control debate, not just, mass shootings. If used for lawful citizens, the gang members and the criminals will still get their guns. They're not buying them legally, okay? They're not going to a pawn shop. They're not going to Cabela's. They're not going to a gun show where they do background checks. They are buying them in a back alley in the middle of Chicago. They are buying them, in somebody's home in South Central LA. That's not going to change. I mean, look at the gun control in Mexico. Only the federal government is supposed to have guns. How many guns do the cartels have? Them. It didn't. And it won't work for us.
Enough illegal guns for them to jump the border to America.
I heard somebody sigh.
What?
I was just going to say, I heard somebody sigh, so somebody wanted to talk. So go ahead.
Enough illegal guns for them to jump the border illegally into America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just don't see how taking guns away from lawful citizens will curb the problem, because you know what's already illegal? Mass fucking murder is illegal. And this guy shot up a school, went and ate McDonald's, and then gave himself up peacefully. He didn't run. He didn't have a getaway car. He didn't try and go to a different school. He didn't try to run to a different state to avoid capture. No. This sicko went to McDonald's. Let that sink in, okay? He killed 18 people, and then he thinks,
Actually,
"I need a soda."
he went to Subway first.
Let's be honest. Like, killing 18 people is probably a lot of work. I definitely understand why he would want a Big Mac after.
I mean, let's face it. You're probably going to want a Big Mac after you kill about 14 people.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Oh man, we're going to be painted as alt-righters after this.
Too late, my friend.
Not you, at least. You're the only liberal here on the panel, so you're safe, sir.
And I don't know if you can spot it, Mad Dodge, but I'm being very careful on how I tread this time.
Oh yeah.
Compared to how I'm usually acting. But can I just ask, because this is sort of a curiosity of mine, what's your thought about universal background checks?
Do it.
They already do it.
I mean, be more strict on it.
No, they're already strict. They already have a background check.
But you also know certain locations are more lenient than other state locations. I can go down 5 miles down the road, and they'll be like, okay, as soon as I sign the papers, give me a gun. Go 20 miles down the direction and get to a gun. It might take 5 days. It really depends on the owner of the location.
Yeah.
It should never take 5 days. Here in Oregon, I have bought, the only gun I bought was a shotgun, a 12 gauge. I went in there to Bi-Mart of all places. So it's almost like Walmart, okay? I went to Bi-Mart and I bought my first gun. So literally, I'm buying the gun and I have to give them my ID and stuff. And as you know, we're doing a transaction, they're running the background check. Background check comes back. I'm good, you know, and they sell me the gun. I have the gun. It's in a box, right? I don't have a car at the time. I'm only 19. My first gun. I literally walk outside the store and I walk home 3 or 4 blocks with my shotgun right there, you know, carrying it in plain view. A cop passed by me. Did he pull me over and throw me on the ground? Nope. He waved and smiled. And I walked home with my brand new gun. Welcome to America. And that's the way it needs to stay.
Well,
also, I did buy my only gun from a police auction, and it literally took less than half a second for them to approve me.
I'm actually, like, I don't know. I don't see a problem with a background check. That's the liberal side of me, I guess. In situations like, I don't know if you guys remember Dylan Roof, the guy that went into a black church and basically massacred people. What happened there was...
Oh, yeah, I remember that stupid fucker because he had pictures with the Confederate flag, and then Amazon won't sell me any more Confederate flags. Yeah, I remember that asshole.
Don't know the name, don't give a rat's ass by his name.
What happened with him was that he tried to get a hold of the gun, and then basically the people doing the background check for, I think it was 2 weeks, and then they ended it like a couple days early because they thought they weren't going to find anything. And then it turns out he had some violent tendencies, and if they had done their background check properly, then he wouldn't have gotten a gun. I don't know. I definitely understand from the legal gun owner perspective that, hey, I haven't done anything and I'm not going to, then why do I have to sort of abide by this as if I'm a criminal? But on the other hand, we need to realize that in order for a society to work, then we have to move in the pace of the slowest moving people.
No, you don't. You can always get rid of them.
Well, no, I want to put this in perspective for you a little bit, Rat. So just 3 days ago, a mountain lion was spotted at the only park we have here where I live. I live in a tiny, tiny town. And only one park, and a mountain lion was spotted there. My wife was going to take the kids to that park that day. she didn't. She decided she didn't feel up to it. But now, I make the kids take the dog out with them when they go play in the woods, and they can't go too far because
good plan.
no. Oh well, we have a poor little Chihuahua. He'll distract the mountain lion for like 30 seconds while the kids get away. That poor dog, though.
Chihuahua
He'll be done. Yeah.
You know.
But no, we own guns so we can protect ourselves not only from criminals but from fucking mountain lions, dude, and bears.
No, don't snatch that, kid. Snatch this one.
But Madaj, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I definitely understand it from your view. I don't have a problem understanding the whole "I'm a legal gun owner, then why should I be treated as a criminal" argument. I definitely see that. I'm just saying that some people that get a hold of a gun may have a very violent history, and those people might not be the best ideas to give
that it wants to pass, or its house or whatever. It wants to pass a new bill making it harder for somebody who's ever had a restraining order against them or domestic abuse to get a gun. Now, I agree with half of that law. If you actually choked out your ex-wife and you tried to kill her and you're going through a nasty divorce, I don't think owning a gun is necessarily the best thing for you at that point in your life. Really don't. But if some crazy ex got a restraining order on you for no goddamn reason, why should that strip you of your Second Amendment right? I mean, this is a really tough issue, and I'm going to end up having to vote on it come November, probably.
Yeah.
I was going to say a lot of restraining orders
have a very thorough background check, because then they would see the details of the restraining order, I'm going to guess, and then you could maybe send in a formal complaint or whatever. I don't know. I don't really know. We don't have this problem, and yeah, I don't know how to handle it. Sort of.
What is the state of your gun laws in Norway? May I ask?
Okay, so I am not 100% clear on that, because it's not such a big debate in Norway. But I think it goes something as you're allowed to own a gun if you have a sort of hunter's license, and you're allowed to own a gun if you are a member of a shooting club. Yeah, and it's not hard to do any one of those two, and you're allowed to. It's not that hard, I think. On the other hand, like I said, it's not a huge debate in Norway, and it's not hard to get the information if you desire to own a gun. But yeah, so
it sounds exactly like Germany. Actually, there are like different stages of gun ownership. Like you said, hunting, and then sports shooting, and then the last stage is military, where you can own fully automatics and everything, or at least or handle them. Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't really know, other than the fact that I had guns when I was in the military. And I like shooting. I think it's fine. I did think about joining a shooting club for a while, but it just doesn't fit with my wallet nowadays. You're allowed to own. You're allowed to buy a bow. That's not a problem. But I think you need a special permission to own a crossbow.
Wow, even a crossbow. I was going to say, I don't have my 12 gauge anymore, 40, but when you do come up here, I have my compound bow. We'll take out some of my blunted arrows and go target shooting.
Oh, compound.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can, I have a recurve bow, and there's literally no license or anything for that, but you can own a crossbow, but if you want to hunt with a crossbow, hunting with a crossbow is technically considered hunting with a rifle, at least in California. I'm sure it's different in other states. I'm sure there's 50,000 different regulations across all the other 50 different states, but a rifle's considered a crossbow and vice versa if you're hunting in California.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know that there was some commotion that. Okay, I'm now going to give you an idea of how rural it is in the place I come from. So a couple of years ago, a guy was driving on his motorbike with a shotgun on his back, and that basically made the newspaper's front page or something. It turned out it was only a guy that was on his way home from a hunt, and it was nothing to the story, but people had gotten a little bit like, "Oh, what?"
So, that's like every other city in the U.S.
Yeah,
that's a pretty common occurrence.
No, seriously. I one time made my 12 gauge shotgun fit into a 22 rifle case. That was pretty interesting.
So did you guys see the? I think it was a report on the America's Most Armed Man a little while ago. So
no, I don't think so.
Okay, so
I've never seen it.
So the guy is basically a nut job. His wife died in a sort of rocket thing. I'm not sure on the details, but he basically
she was in NASA.
No, so I think they were going to have some explosions behind them because they were recording sort of a program for the Discovery Channel or something, and then sort of at the end they were going to have some explosions behind them, and then she basically died. And after that, he completely went off his rockers, and he bought himself 3 dolls that he keeps talking to as if they are real people. And he has like so many, I'll post a link to it in the Discord server. It's very interesting.
So yeah, to get a little bit back on topic here, 40, come on, man. So the ADL got a hold of this guy, who even the SPLC says is a crackpot looking for attention, and they run with the story. Did they do that out of ignorance, or did they do that because, you know what, I don't care if this guy's telling the truth or not, let's run with it? It makes it look like there's more white supremacists out there, and it, helps with the gun control debate on the liberal side.
Run with it to sell the story for gun control.
Well, and I mean, it's one of the very few sources they have is this guy that has allegedly hung out with Cruz. So I mean, it's really one of the very few things they have to run with.
Like Ted?
Sorry?
The houses? Oh, nothing.
Yeah, but they literally found the story on 4chan, and then called the guy who supposedly has a 24-hour fucking open telephone line. Come on, what the fuck's going on for me? You saw that Tim Pool video? What the fuck?
Yeah, that's definitely pretty dubious. I mean, the guy has no official relation to Nicholas Cruz, but he's still claiming that he's done, like, I don't want to say military exercises, but he's definitely hung out with this group of people, at least from what the founder of the ROF is proclaiming. So I mean, honestly, that's really one of the very few sources we have as to his training with firearms and how he got access to them previously before actually owning one. So I mean, honestly, probably ignorance, if I had to guess.
Really? I don't think it's ignorance. I think the ADL is going out of their way here to spotlight white supremacy in relation to gun violence, and they're doing it maliciously. I have no more respect for the ADL left in me. I really don't like that group, and I really don't like the SPLC either. But even they said that this guy was a crackpot.
Yeah, especially if he's done nothing but do attention seeking previous to this event. I mean, it's likely that this is just a ploy to, I don't want to say get supporters, but draw attention to his organization at least.
Just like the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. What definitely bothers me is that, you know, going back to the warning sign things that we were actually talking about previously. You know, I mean, tons of people. This is one of the very few instances where people were actually talking about, you know, having the police come out to this guy's house, and yet nothing was done really. You know, the police have been called out to this guy's house, Nicholas Cruz's house, that is. He was reported to the FBI for comments in a YouTube video about 6 months ago, how he was going to be a professional school shooter. There have been all kinds of reports about him performing acts of cruelty to small animals. All these warning signs were there, and one of the very few times that people actually go out of their way to report these things to the police don't take it seriously, and or the police do nothing to inform local officials. That's one of my problems.
So, quick question: how do you become a professional school shooter? Is that like, you know, do you have like an educational way to it, or?
It's a one and done job. Just go in, commit suicide, or run away, and let the police catch you.
Well, go ahead.
I'm starting to think. Yeah, I'm starting to think these guys have a fan club going with Kip Kinkle and fucking all these assholes that survived. I mean, I don't know. I just don't get it. Is there some kind of cult going on? Like, this shit spiked right after, you know, in the 2000s. Before, like, even in the 90s, when they started putting metal detectors in inner city schools, you didn't have this shit. You didn't have the Bloods
After
and Crips.
Columbine, all this happened.
So how long?
I think Thurston was before Columbine, sir. And that's the one that I remember the most because that was where I live.
So have Alex Jones come out and claim that this one is fake yet?
Not yet.
No, you never do.
No, actually, though, it's interesting. Alternative Media Television, AMTV, they usually say that this shit is staged and all that. But one of the reporters for AMTV, I think one of his family members went to that school. And he came out with a video saying, how dare people in the alt media say this is all fake and it's all crisis actors. There's blood on the floor and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just thinking while I'm watching this video, I'm like, dude, you guys do the same thing. Now it hit close to home for you. Now you care? What about the Sandy Hook victims that you guys said was a false flag, that you said didn't happen, that you said was crisis actors? Oh, man. Even alternative media, the conspiracy theory media, is eating itself up over this one, too.
Yeah. I can remember there was, I think, one guy that tried to claim that the Oslo attacks in 2011 were not real. And I actually have to say, like, if you are personally touched by something like that, and it gets pretty fucking infuriating. Like, I can remember I was like, hey, fuckface, multiple of my friends actually died in that thing, so shut the fuck up. And he was using like horrible evidence, like, you know, every time some of these shootings come out, the people that claim that didn't happen, they always present like the most horrible evidence of ever, if they even present anything. So it's interesting though that the second it sort of hits close to home, then they backpedal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all I could think of when I was watching that video. And I was just like, oh, right after Sandy Hook, you guys were saying the exact opposite. Because I've been following this channel for going on 4 years now.
These are
And
terrible.
so I know what bullshit they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I don't know. Some people just are doing no form of service to when they do these things.
Don't spread the news that gets bad reaction. Always spread the news that gets good reaction. Fake, true news, wherever gets the most strong reaction, run with it. That's how the media is in America.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm beginning to think that's how the media is everywhere. And that's how a lot of the YouTubers are becoming as well. I mean, even us here, we're talking about politics all the time and news 3 times a week. If we just jump on a story without all the facts and start spouting misinformation, we're just as damned as CNN is for doing the same thing, are we not?
Not just CNN, every news media. Everything jumps on the first train for all this shit.
I would still say that there is a level of honesty to what we are doing that CNN doesn't have. I feel that our goal is different than the one of CNN, whereas CNN basically and the mainstream media at large are basically trying to spin stories so that they can gain fiscally on it, whereas we sort of try to come to some sort of conclusion on how to see the society or what lens to use when we see specific situations in society. That's my take anyway.
What do you think, 40?
Sorry about what?
Yeah, nice to know you're still paying attention to the show, buddy.
Yeah, totally.
No. Even when YouTubers jump to conclusions and report on stuff without all the facts. So if I would have put this stream out on when did this happen? Wednesday? If I would have done it immediately on Wednesday without all the facts, am I not just as damnable as CNN or Fox News for doing the same thing?
Well, I mean, in this circumstance, not necessarily, I don't think, because there's an incredible amount of misinformation going around. From the information that I've gathered through Twitter and other news sources, I mean, he's part of Antifa, as I saw on Twitter. From the AP, he's part of a white nationalist group, but it turns out neither of those things are true. I mean, you know, there are people claiming that there's a second shooter involved. That is most likely not true at all. There are people who's going to say, this is completely staged and this is all a giant hoax. # Sandy Hook never happened. So, I mean, no, I mean, in this circumstance, in this particular shooting, I don't think there's any way to correctly report it due to the fact that there's such an incredible amount of misinformation. But that is only relative to this specific circumstance. If this was some other shooting, I would say yes, but unfortunately, there's too much bullshittery around this one shooting.
One true thing about this shooting, a fucknut went to the school and shot up a damn place.
I think it's sad that news outlets have come so distrusted that when something like this happens, they're still not able to report on it correctly.
Report on it correctly or not, a fucknut went to a school and opened fired. That's the only thing I need to know. I don't care about his fucking name. He's a fucknut who went in with a rifle and shot up a place.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're correct, but there was warning signs this time.
Yeah,
and they went back and they went through the school. The school knew about this guy last year. So I mean,
I think it's
I don't know.
it's easy just to say now that you don't want to know anything about the situation and whatever, but it's just when there are so much information about the situation. I think it's important to get stuff right. Even though like some people might not really want to hear too much about it, and that's fine. But I think in order to sort of move on, and in order to sort of be able to better prepare society in for sort of the next time it might happen, then we need to have the discourse where we actually know who the guy was. We actually know, did society know who he was before this happened, and so forth. And that's why accurate information is so important.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of accurate information, did you guys not see the Facebook video he posted the day before? He had literally went
I
on
did
Facebook.
not.
He went on Facebook and posted a video that said literally, I can't quote it word for word, but I'll sum it up. Tomorrow something big's gonna happen. You know what tomorrow's date is. You know something else really big happened that day. So just yeah, something like that. So in other words, he was referring to the Valentine's Day massacre and literally saying, I'm going to do
thought you were
something
talking
big
about-
tomorrow.
I thought you were talking about Sam Hyde. I was about to say it wasn't Sam Hyde. He was not the school shooter.
No. No, I'm talking about the literal shooter went on February 13th and said, you guys know the history of tomorrow. Something really big's going to happen in Florida tomorrow. Just wait. And then he stares into the camera. It's only like a 30-second clip that I saw. But holy shit. That's pretty much spelling it out. I mean, to all the people that were Facebook friends with him, they should have all reported that shit. I mean,
On the
come
other
on.
hand, that's easy to say in retrospect.
I know what the Valentine's Day massacre is. So if I would have seen that video, if I was his Facebook friend, I would have known what he was referring to. All right.
Yeah, maybe, but then again, I don't know. Maybe it's.
And let me.
see where
Here's another interesting. Well, here's another interesting thing, Rat, about the Valentine's Day massacre. So they had dressed up as cops and raided the place, but they were really gangsters. They lined them up against the wall and shot them. Okay. What did he do? He goes into the school dressed like a normal teenager. He's 19. He's already out of school, by the way. He goes in there dressed as a normal teenager. He shoots a bunch of people. He drops the gun. He takes off his gloves or whatever the hell else he had. And he blends into the students and evacuates the school with them. Then he leaves to go to Subway and McDonald's, etc. But he literally did what they did on the Valentine's Day massacre. He blended in and he used the disguise to get away with it. Oh man, he spelled it out in that Facebook video. I'm telling you.
Yeah, what I'm saying is just that it's very easy to see it in retrospect and say stuff like that. Whereas, when did the Valentine's Day massacre happen, and where?
February 14th, 1929 in Chicago. That's when it happened.
Yeah. So did he reference Chicago in the video?
No.
There was no video of
No.
it. It was really all about alcohol during the Prohibition. Al Capone set people in to kill the rival gang who was selling alcohol.
If he didn't reference that exact thing, then people might have at that point said that, yeah, Valentine's Day is a very historical or whatever day. It's a national holiday for you guys, so maybe that's what his friends thought. I don't know.
Well,
Like
you're
if-
right. I'm looking back. Hindsight is 2020, right? So you're correct there. I can't argue with that.
Yeah. So if someone, if it were more a sort of insignificant date generally, then I would definitely agree with you. Like, okay, so let's say someone here in Norway made a video on the 21st of July this year and said, hey, you know what sort of day it is tomorrow? Something big is going to happen. Then that person would be, immediately looked at by people. Seeing as the 22nd of July is only sort of caught up to the terror attacks. Whereas the 14th of February, well, it's a date that people remember because of the national holiday.
Also, the shooter kid actually said a couple days after Valentine's Day, something big's going to happen. A lot of people who are Chinese heritage or interested in China will think, oh, he's referencing Chinese New Year. So they won't think twice about it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if it were a less significant date, then I would definitely agree with you.
Yeah, I just know when I was watching it, when he said, talking about Valentine's Day that way, the Valentine's Day massacre immediately popped in my head. But I'm a history buff, so that could be why. Any other ideas on this, guys? If we've gone about 2 hours, we can start wrapping it up if you guys want. Or if you have more, like gun control is a big topic. We can keep going if you want.
I don't think I have anything more useful to add with my liberal agenda.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make dinner in a second. I'm gonna have to get going.
All right, well then let's just wrap it up here. This has been the Redeye Stream number 84. When it comes to gun control, I say gun control is holding it with 2 hands. Good night, folks. Have a good one. If you haven't subscribed to Rat Resistance or 40 Ounce, do so. Moondog, you don't have a YouTube channel, do you? Or if you do you want to shout it out?
Oh, fuck no. I don't make enough videos for this shit.
All right, fair enough. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. We will be back either this weekend with the Weekend Red Eye or Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Good night and good luck.